Hi there. So my name is Laura Ruderman, and I am the CEO of the Technology Alliance. We are a business-oriented nonprofit that is statewide, but headquartered in Seattle. Although I live about 15 minutes up the street in Kirkland. So thank you, PNWER, for making this the most convenient conference I have attended in a very long time. I didn't even have to cross 520. So the Technology Alliance was founded about 30 years ago by Bill Gates Sr. and Tom Alberg and a number of other folks who wanted to plan for Washington State's future as a hub of the innovation economy. And we've talked a lot, there've been a lot of sessions around innovation at this conference, and all of them talk about the need to have the business community, the academic institutions, and the elected officials work well together. And that is exactly what our organization does. We believe that a successful innovation economy is built on three pillars: the existence of a skilled and adaptable workforce, abundant innovation capacity, and a strong entrepreneurial climate. So it was been great to go to all of the sessions here and really hear folks talking about the need for those organizations to work together. And we hope to be, we will be a part of conversations going forward around quantum and fusion and aerospace and all of the things that you heard of. So with that, it is my honor to introduce, if my phone will come back, thank you. My honor to introduce Leo Zhadanovsky, the Chief Technologist for Education, State and Local Government and Elections at Amazon Web Services. That is a small portfolio, a small and modest portfolio. With over a decade of experience, Leo has helped organizations worldwide design scalable, secure cloud architectures, and he's spoken at major tech conferences like reInvent. He previously led infrastructure for the Democratic National Committee supporting the Obama presidential campaign. So I cannot wait to hear out of all of those different things what you are going to talk about, but it will be fascinating. And then I will come back later to help moderate the Q&A. So please, some of you have already been proactive and gotten your questions into the Whova app. So please make sure that you do that, and also go in and check what other people have asked so you can upvote them, and we can make sure that Leo gets asked the questions that the most number of people in the room want to hear answered. So with that, I will turn the mic over to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. So actually, what I'm going to talk to you about today is what I see with our customers that I work with every day with generative AI, kind of what it is now, what the value is, what I think the future is going to look like. Now, I don't like doing slides, so I'll actually show you a demo of something I built, like a generative AI app that I built, so you can make it real. So just a little bit more about myself. I've been at AWS, so Amazon Web Services, for 12 and a half years now. We have a tool inside the company called Old Fart, so you can see how, what your tenure is compared to others. So I think mine is pretty crazy. It's 98.685%, which is I don't feel that old, but one thing that I do with our customers every day is I work with them, so when they're launching something that if it goes down, if it doesn't work, they'll be in the news, we'll be in the news, something, we want to make sure that those things don't happen. So I run a program to minimize risk. And that's kind of what I used to do when I worked at the DNC and Obama campaign, is we launched big scalable systems and we made sure they didn't crash and we made sure they stayed secure. So we use the lessons from kind of when we do this with all of our customers, when we do this internally, to make sure that we help our customers succeed. I also have been lately working with a lot of our customers to figure out what is the problem they're trying to solve. Is generative AI something that can help them? And if so, how can they do it in a sustainable, safe, responsible manner? And again, my customers I work with every day are generally education, so higher ed, tech, state, local government, and elections customers. And Just I used to live. I lived here for 4 years. I live in LA now, but when I lived here, obviously I picked up a coffee habit, and so I love like nerding out my espresso machine. In fact, one of my other demos that I'm not going to show you today is a dashboard that shows all the statistics around my espresso machine. All right, so what we're going to cover is just level set. I'm sure most of you already know what is generative AI. Then I'm going to talk about the future of generative AI, and I think its impact on things like economic development, energy, transportation. And then again, I'm going to show you a demo of an app that I built that's actually a transportation app, a transit-related app. And then we'll talk about Amazon's investments in the Pacific Northwest. So what is generative AI? Right, so at the end of the day, when you boil it down, it is a technology that lets you automatically create new original content. Things like whether it's code, images, writing, now video. And you can do it at a scale where it's impossible for humans to do it at that speed alone. Now, there's still humans provide the inspiration. It's not actual artificial intelligence, right? So you're directing it what to do, but it can do things for you at a much faster rate and make people more efficient. And I think this is going to fundamentally transform, and it's already doing so, how businesses and public sector entities both produce and customize content, and also do things like analyze information and provide services to citizens much faster. And the reason I say this is real is that the adoption is already happening. So according to recent industry analysis and our own research, the momentum is already there. 72% of organizations are already using generative AI in at least one business function. 50% of them have moved from just proof of concepts or tests to actual systems in production. And 40% of those are already achieving measurable results. And this is happening rapidly. And so they're not just experimenting, they're transforming their products and services. And I'm sure in the things that you use every day, you can see some of the new innovations there. So the question isn't like whether to do this in many cases, it's how quickly you can innovate and scale. And in terms of moving, again, from strategy to actually action, we see that the leadership of our customers is moving with urgency. So 60% of organizations have appointed chief AI officers to drive this technology. 45% of them are making generative AI their top budget priority for 2025. And the most significant trend is the adoption of agentic AI and multi-agent systems. And I'll talk to you what that actually means. So AI, if you look at what the value is, there's basically three different premises here. First is you get the freedom to invent when you're using AI with AWS with a comprehensive AI portfolio. So this means having access to not just one model, because there are different models that people use, but multiple foundation models, a broad set of tools and services, and the flexibility to like buy solutions or build new solutions. We're also building these AI systems and AI services in a way that you can trust them. So they have enterprise-grade security and responsible AI built in from the start. We're thinking of them when we build these products from the beginning. And this includes security controls, things to protect data, and also compliance, especially when working with our government customers, things like StateRAMP, FedRAMP. You can't just build things like a private sector entity can. You have to make sure they're compliant. So we're building our services with that in mind. And also, we're thinking through cost and scale. How do you optimize performance? How do you make sure that whatever you're building doesn't bust your budget, right? And so I'll talk about this a little bit, but we have custom chips that we've built, for example, that give you 30 to 40% better price performance. That means it costs you less. It also means they're using less energy, so they're more sustainable. So let's talk through some actual use cases that I've seen. So the NFL, with their experience so far, it shows how you can transform complex content operations. And so they've been using one of our services called Q Business to help their producers, editors, and creatives accelerate content production. And so using this tool that they built, they've experienced a 67% reduction in onboarding new staff because they can just start using the tools. And so, for example, technical questions that used to take a day are now resolved in 10 seconds because they can just ask this tool, how do you do something? United Airlines. So airlines are really interesting because the reservation systems that airlines use are actually among the oldest computer systems that exist, right? I mean, it literally used to be like a book that you would call in book ticket in the 50s, and there's a book and they would place your index card in the book for the flight, and that's how a reservation system worked. Then they computerized it. And so the current systems that they use today are just evolutions of those original systems. And they use cryptic data formats that took employees like months or even years to learn. And so United used a service we have called Amazon Bedrock to train generative AI models to interpret these legacy reservation systems and translate them into plain English. This means that now their employees can get answers in seconds that used to take hours of manual research and staff time. And so obviously this has a lot of benefits down the line for their airline. And in terms of Amazon, customers often ask us, how do we use generative AI? This is just a glimpse of where we're using it. So if you use the Amazon app to buy anything, there's something involved called Rufus. And so it's a little chatbot, and you can ask it things like, hey, I'm thinking about buying a road bike. Give me the top 3 road bikes, or what's the difference between these two? So you can ask it to compare questions, and it's like talking to a human, right? And it gives you insights before you make a decision to buy something. We also have, for example, Amazon Pharmacy. When you use Amazon Pharmacy, the pharmacists that fulfill the subscriptions, they're getting insights from generative AI that look at things like, are there conflicts between these two medications? It helps our customers figure out the insurance price much faster. So that's another example. So you'll see generative AI kind of like features being added through all kinds of different products in our end. Okay, so that's generative AI. Now let's figure out, what is this AI agents thing that everybody is talking about? So AI agents, what we define them as, it's autonomous software systems. They use AI to reason, plan, and complete tasks on behalf of humans or other systems. So things like compiling research, paying bills, planning a trip, managing enterprise applications. You can have an agent that you build that does those things for you. And what makes them really powerful is that they can think iteratively. So they can evaluate the results they see from a system, they can adjust their approach, and they can continue working towards a goal that you define for them. And so they don't just answer questions, they solve problems through a process of exploration and refinement. And what this means is that when these systems, when generative AI kind of first came on the scene, there's this clear progression. First, there's the generative AI assistants. And so this is just like you're asking questions to a model, and the answers are just based on what the model knows, which depends on what it's trained on. And so that requires a lot of human oversight because there's hallucinations, so it'll make stuff up sometimes, and you really have to watch, to make sure you're getting accurate results. And then these agents came on the scene. So the agents, they can communicate with systems that you might already have in place. So now it's not just guessing based on the data the model has. So for example, let's say you build an agent for the DMV. Instead of just guessing, you can actually connect to your systems and see, oh, when's my driver's license expiring? And it knows because it got that data from a valid source of truth. So you have different agents that actually, again, they act as essentially like they do research. And then you have agentic AI systems. So now imagine a system where you have multiple agents, they have different tasks, they can talk to each other, and they, again, it means that the complexity of what you're doing can be much, much greater. And the value of these is kind of in 3 areas. So workplace productivity, and this is currently the current crop of agentic applications. It's the majority of it are in this area. So this means they integrate to tools like Zoom or the development environment the developers use to write code, and they automate routine tasks and boost employee productivity. So for example, like I write code sometimes, and I hate writing documentation because it's boring. And usually my documentation is really bad. Well, this can do it for me. It can just look at the code that I've written, and it can create docs so that somebody else reading my code can now understand it. Business workflow. So enterprises are customizing and building AI workflow agents to streamline operations. So these are things like financial reporting, demand forecasting, incident management, so they can give decision makers at those organizations real-time insights to make better decisions. And lastly, innovation and research. So in fields like engineering, entertainment, life sciences, AI agents are transforming research by automating data analysis and simulations. So the researchers and the creators, they can focus on ideation and strategy, and leave a lot of the kind of, we call it undifferentiated heavy lifting to these agents. Okay, so what does the future hold? So first of all, there's gonna be multi-agent systems. So these are, again, systems that are, they can tackle more complex business challenges, and they can collaborate with each other and offer a bunch of benefits that a single agent can't. Hyper-personalization. So there's gonna be advancements in agents that allow for highly personalized interactions and simulations. And so they'll be able to, for example, mimic human behavior, for example, as a customer service agent, demonstrating empathy to a frustrated customer. So it doesn't feel like you're just talking to a bot. Memory advancements. One challenge right now is if you use these systems, they have limited memory. So you'll have you'll use like something to write code, and then you do it tomorrow and it forgot what you talked about yesterday. So there's gonna be a focus on developing long-running AI agents. They can operate over extended periods of time. So they remember the context of what you're asking them, even though the conversation could have been last week. And that'll, again, increase their usefulness. And lastly, new team dynamics. So there's gonna be growing integration of agents and humans. So you'll have a team where certain painful tasks are done by agents, and other tasks are done by humans, probably the ones that are more valuable or require decision making. So agents will augment teams and make them more efficient. So, okay, enough slides. Let me show you a demo. Okay, so just to set a context for this, this is an app that I built from scratch. It is I know it's hard to see, but what it's doing is a chat window. I have it, it's called the Portland Transit Chat. So you can ask it any question about Portland. You can ask it, so I'll hit play on the demo. But basically you can ask it like, what's the best coffee shops? What's the best food carts? Or how do I get travel directions between like any 2 points? And so what I'm typing in here is, give me the best coffee shops in Portland. And so what it's actually doing is there's an agent that it first looks at, what am I asking it? Is it a transit question? Is it a recommendation? Is it something else? And then it directs your question to other different agents. In this case, there's an agent that pulls the top coffee shops. It pulls this data from like Google reviews and Yelp and different sources. And it gave me a list on the fly of coffee shop recommendations. And then they also created a map, and I can click on destinations on the map. So this map was created on the fly, and there's another agent that takes a bunch of addresses and then creates a map based out of them. So then I can ask it things like transit directions. I can't see the screen. I think that's the one I asked next. But then it has an agent that actually talks to, yeah, there we go. It asked, how do I get from PDX to downtown Portland? And it gave me step-by-step directions. Now this agent talks to the TriMet APIs. So it knows if there's like a line that's having delays, or something's off, like it's 2 a.m. so you have to take the bus instead of the light rail. It knows that, and it adjusts the directions live according to exactly what I told it. And then it also generates a step-by-step map of how to get there. So this is cool because I have buttons in there they're quick action buttons, but you can literally in the text box type it anything you want. And as long as it's in its knowledge base, it'll ask it. And it also is smart enough I asked it how to get, I think from PAL Books to somewhere else. And so it knows, oh, this is a half a mile. So this is not a transit, this is a walking route. So it was smart enough, the agent knew, okay, I need walking directions. I need to generate those in this case. And again, this is like, end up being like, I think it's currently at 6,000 lines of code. I'm technical, but I'm not really a developer. I used generative AI tools to actually build this app. It took me about a day's worth of effort to build it. Now, I didn't tell it wasn't like a one and done thing. I think there's like 90 something revisions in the code right now. So you have to keep guiding it and telling it exactly what to do, how to iterate. But if I was able to do this in a day, and it has documentation too, it generated all that. And then that's what I'm showing there. That's the dev environment. This is an agentic AI-based development environment. So I can use this to like write the code, and on the right side, that's the chat window that I'm telling it exactly what to do. So anyway, I previously just could not have been able to do this. And even if I was able to do it, like let's say I was a good enough coder, this would have taken me, I don't know, like a month at least, a long time. I was able to do this in a day. So now when I talk to my customers, I can create a demo for them that's topical to what they're doing. And I build this in a way where it's not just a demo. Like if I deployed this, it's enterprise grade. It has security, it has architecture best practices, just like how we build our services internally. So if you already have developers, if you already have teams, that know how to code already, imagine how much you can accelerate what they're doing, how much more efficient they can be, how much more better services they can provide for constituents. So I think that's really powerful. Okay, so last few things I want to cover here is, all of these services, they run on GPUs, so graphics processing chips. And so what we decided to do is we needed to actually drill down to the silicon layer in this area. And so we built these two chips called Trainium and Inferentia, and they are purpose-built chips for AI training and inference. And they, for example, reduce costs up to 50%. And they also deliver better performance for certain types of AI tasks. So they're saving our customers money, and they're also more sustainable. They use less power, right? So that's kind of an area where we're focused on, is at our scale, it makes sense to do this. And lastly, in terms of Amazon's investments in the Pacific Northwest area. So global energy demands are growing due to our increased dependence on advanced technology, from smart appliances to mobile and AI applications. And at the same time, strengthening our energy independence will help the US secure its position as a global leader in AI development. And so to achieve this, we need more reliable carbon-free energy to help power these advanced technologies. And so our energy strategy is part of our customer obsession, and we're investing in energy projects and technologies that will make a real long-lasting impact on our customers and the communities where we operate. So we have a goal to be water positive by 2030, meaning we will return more water to communities and the environment than our direct operations actually use. And in terms of the Puget Sound, there's some info on our investments there, but also AI is revolutionizing how work gets done and who can do it. So to address this landscape, we're investing in a new initiative through our AWS Academy program, and that's aimed at equipping early career professionals with these skills. So this aims to reach 2.7 million college students and early career professionals worldwide in the first year. And critical thinking skills, problem solving, creative thinking, design, and technical skills, these are gonna be the top 3 skills that organizations and governments need to embrace AI. So employers are considering technical skills to be important to using AI. I think other skills like critical thinking and problem solving are actually even more important, right? Because to use these tools, that means that we're directing them, right? So we have to think about, how do we actually efficiently use these tools? How do we get something useful out of them? How do we evaluate the results to make sure they're valid? Because if you just accept everything these systems give you and you don't know if it's wrong or not, that can lead to a lot of problems. So actually humans have people have a big responsibility in using these tools. And then in terms of Eastern Oregon, here's some info on our investment there. So we've enabled more than 6,000 jobs locally through our data centers, and our investment in the region and resulting economic impact also generates revenue for a lot of Eastern Oregon businesses and supports a total of an estimated 5,700 jobs full-time in the local economy. And we've also made an infrastructure investment in Alberta as well. So we have a region, so basically like a separate cloud in Alberta, where there's 3 availability zones there, which means there's essentially like 3 sets of big data centers. And here we also have had a region in Oregon for a long time as well in this area. So that's kind of the material I had for you today, but I think now we can go to your questions, which I'm super excited for. Looks like we're switching screens here. Here we go. Yeah, I think we need the podium mic turned on here.
Okay, I'll just yell because I'm a former singer. Oh, there we go.
Cool.
I just have to yell. So y'all did not do your homework because I see only 2 questions. And we did not rehearse any questions. But I do want to, and I promise I am not on Amazon's payroll. I have never been on Amazon's payroll. But Are those questions? Oh, I am not seeing those on the app. So pardon me, you all did. Well, I have some. Can you make it actually the font smaller so I can see more? Because I think the third, okay, yes. But one thing I do want to say before that is one of the economic impacts that you did not put up on the screen, and as someone who looks at the Washington State business climate and what policy does, is the philanthropic impact of Amazon employees. And it is I don't have numbers, but it is an incredible impact. And you are an incredibly mobile business. And I just want to point out that if Amazon decides to move further than, say, from Seattle to Bellevue, the philanthropic impact is also intense. That is all I'm going to say to my former colleagues in the audience. So I like this question. What will the AI revolution look like in 10 years? This is asking you to get out your crystal ball, which I don't know, given your work history that we said maybe you feel like is in shards in the garbage can along with the rest of our crystal balls. But what do you think the AI revolution will look like in 10 years, and what applications would you like to predict?
Yeah, so I think it's really hard to predict, because if you look at like 3 years ago, nobody was talking about generative AI, right? And if you look at a year ago, like with the demo I showed you, building the app, I couldn't do that a year ago. This is like brand new technology, right? So it's advancing very rapidly. But I think at a high level, what's going to happen is you won't just think about like, oh, I have to go to use Claude or whatever the generative AI system is. It'll just be interwoven into like every tools that we use, and this is already happening. So for example, I look at a dashboard. I have a weekly meeting where we like review a bunch of like status reports, and I used to have to read a huge set of documents for those, and now I just get an automatic summary, right? So it's not like I'm not thinking I'm using generative AI. Just there's a tool built in that summarizes everything I have to read now, and they can get more and more advanced. So things that maybe you require a specialist for, like let's say you've got a data warehouse and you need to get a data scientist to pull useful data out of it for decision makers. You'll be able to just like go and type, like ask it a question like you would a human, and it'll just pull the data out. So I think you're just gonna have AI like interwoven into like everyday technology that we use. And I think it's important from a responsible AI perspective that it's there, that you're interacting with an AI system so you can make decisions accordingly, but it'll be seamless. And like 10 years from now, that's a long time in technology. Like, we might have like ubiquitous quantum computing and everything. So everything might be radically different. But I just think it's not something where it'll just be something you have to actively think about. Like it'll just be something that like we all use calculators, we all use spell check, we all use word processors. It'll be like that.
So I'm not going to ask the typical boring question that I am sure you are tired of answering about hallucinations, if it is all interwoven, because we all know they all hallucinate, everybody's working on it, yada, yada, yada. But given that, and given how ubiquitous it will be, what do we need to be doing to train at the K-12 level? What do we need to be weaving into the curriculum beyond computer science, but and maybe I'm going to lead the witness here a little, but critical thinking skills and other skills? Are there things that you would say, given also your work with education, that we really need to be thinking about from a general population education, not the people who are going to go invent the new stuff, but a general population perspective that we need to be thinking about in our K-12 curriculums today? Yeah,
I think absolutely. I personally see on my social media, I see people post stuff that's definitely like very obviously AI generated, and people post stuff as if it's not. And so I think it's a huge problem. It's just I think the first thing is it's really important for folks who build systems with generative AI to build them with responsible AI in mind, so that when you're using the system, it's very clear that that it's transparent, that it's using generative AI. B, it shows you the reasoning for how it got a certain conclusion. So I didn't turn this on because it was noisy in my demo, but I actually have a debug panel there, and if I turn that on, it'll show you like as it's thinking for your transit directions, like how's it reasoning? Like where's it getting that data from, right? So you can understand and evaluate accordingly. But not all systems are going to be like that. So yeah, I think there's definitely has to be like materials in K through 12, a curriculum that just improves like media literacy and the judgment for how you consume media, because yeah, just gonna be, like I see deep fakes, I see things like this like all the time, and I think it's already a problem. Yeah, but it's a hard problem to solve.
I had a day in Taipei 2 weeks ago. It's a whole nother story. And I asked ChatGPT to create an itinerary for me because it had been very impromptu.
Yeah.
And when it told me things to do, I actually asked if it was lying. I said, do all those things actually exist? Because I had seen a demo where someone had asked about 10 things to do in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And there were some really cool things on the list. And when they asked, I forget which model it was, if the model was telling the truth and did all these things actually exist? It said, no, actually, I lied to you. And these 3 things, these 2 things don't exist. This one used to happen, but it doesn't anymore. But the other 4 things, the other 5, 6 things on the list, I promise, are still real.
So I think actually this brings up a great point. When like governments and businesses are building these systems, the value isn't, I think, in the general chat, like where you're just like a chat GPT thing. It's so you already have sources of data that are sources of truth, right? Like systems where you trust the data, is it's not it's there. And what you can do is you can build these generative AI systems so they use the model, the underlying model for the language part. So it's natural language, but they only get data from trusted sources of truth. So it's something that's kind of called retrieval augmented generation. So I can, for example, in my case, like for the transit directions, it will only get transit directions from TriMet's APIs, which I trust. And so it might get those in like a hard to read format, right? It'll tell me like a list of stops. So then it adds the language around like, well, step-by-step instructions, but I'm really confident it's not making stuff up because it's getting the underlying data from source of truth. And I've added in the prompt, like how I tell it to answer questions. I tell it only get information from this source of data. So if you're building a system for government, you have to actually like, the valuable thing is to empower like the underlying systems, the underlying data that you already have, and then use those systems to build your generative AI applications, because then you're just getting more value out of like the data that you have, that maybe you didn't have the ability to like analyze or expose it to constituents before, but there's just a lot less room for hallucination because it's not using the underlying model that it's trained on for any of the answers.
Great. And Rachel, I think we're at time. Is that right? I can keep going? Okay. Oh, I have 6.5 minutes. Thank you. Let's talk about, we talked about hallucinations. Let's talk about power. We've talked a lot about power through the conference. One of the power is really a regional, except for Texas, we all rely on each other in a region for power. We've heard a lot about bring your own power needs. What is AWS, Amazon's view on how much power all of this is going to need, what you're doing to mitigate those needs, and just how you see playing in this space in the future?
Yeah, so I think the power needs are exactly related to the demand, right? So the more people that use the technology, the more power that's used. 2 things that I see from my lens all the time are, so we are custom building these chips, training and inferentia, and we're looking at it from a lens of energy efficiency, power, and performance. So if instead of what you needed a certain amount of power for before, you can do that same operation with half the power, well, then you've saved a lot of power. And so right now, basically not all of the underlying models, like there's Claude, there's Llama, there's all kinds of different models out, Nova, that our customers use. So not all of them like use these chips. So we're working on like how do we get more model providers to work with our chips, because that'll make them more efficient. The other thing that we do is, like, in this is actually my day job, when I talk to customers and they're building these systems, we work with them so that they're only using what they need. And I think that's actually the power of the cloud, right? So for example, if you buy a bunch of GPUs and you run them in your own data center, they're probably going to be on all the time. So whether someone's using them or not, you're going to be using the power that they consume all the time, right? And it's really hard in like a data center to scale things up and down to demand typically. Whereas when you're using our systems, you're actually paying like per use. So it's called tokens, but you're just paying for how much you exactly use, including our generative AI systems. So you're incentivized to use only as much of it as you need. We're incentivized because we want to make it more efficient and lower costs for our customers to also use the least amount of resources that we need. So I think I help our customers to basically architect their systems in a way where they use what they need and then they stop using it. And then that uses less power. And then if you scale it out to all of our customers, right, then that's if you compare it to if they were just running this in their own data centers, I think it's a huge savings.
Do we have any live questions from the audience?
Yes.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you for the presentation. I'm Chantal de Jong. I'm the Parliamentary Secretary for Utilities in Alberta. So power is very important topic of conversation across the Pacific Northwest, and we're seeing a lot of interest in the Alberta grid. A lot of companies, including AWS, that are relocating or choosing to call Alberta home because of our unique power grid characteristics. So I'm wondering what AWS's strategy is to bring on reliable power. I know you have, I believe it's 2040, that's your climate commitment goal to be net carbon zero or net zero carbon by 2040. So what's the strategy to bring on reliable power to reach those 5 nines of reliability that you need? If we get to a point where, we're having to choose between consumer and like data center load, that's obviously not a good situation for anybody. So I'm just wondering what your strategy is to bring on those reliable sources before we have battery technology that is a reliable source and it's net zero as well.
Yeah, so I'll tell you kind of like through my lens what I see, and that's so I had the slide up with the Alberta region before, right? So the way that we architect our regions, which is like basically a separate version of the cloud, right, is we have the region that's in a geographic area. Then within each region, we call them availability zones, but they're basically like different data centers, right? And to achieve that, like our basic operational excellence requirements, that means that each of the availability zones, they have to have like diverse sources of power and internet. And so basically like the theory is, let's say there's a natural disaster that turns off the power or floods one of the data centers, we can lose one of them, but we're not going to lose 3 of them. So it's close enough where it's in this same geographic area, but far enough away where it's on different like fault plains and places with earthquakes or flood plains, places with floods. So that's kind of our baseline requirements, like for anything that we build. And so yeah, like I think that we have a whole infrastructure team that makes these decisions and has to figure out. I don't quite know how they evaluate, the power. So I don't want to talk about something I don't know about. But yeah, there's a whole team that handles all these decisions, and we can follow up on it later if you want.
And I'm going to give you 1 minute to answer this question.
Yes.
As an AI is an amazing disruptor for so many industries, and the fallout from the disruption is going to run the gamut from phenomenal to terrifying. What are AWS and other leaders doing to ensure that humanity experiences more of the good stuff and less of the bad?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So first of all, we are thinking really hard about what is responsible AI, and we're building that into our systems. And same thing with like security. So I'll give you an example. Normally when you do like security on a network, on a system, it's very like on or off. So either access from a certain place is allowed or it's denied. So it's like really kind of easy to think about. But generative AI is different because if you ask the same question to a generative AI system, it'll give it to you in a slightly different way each time. So it's non-deterministic. And the way that you work is you write guardrails for it. So for example, if I'm writing an app, like I was doing a demo app for healthcare. So I want to be able, like I'm a patient in my doctor's office and I want to be able to get my test results. But I don't want to be able to get somebody else's test results. And so I built guardrails around my generative AI app that basically said, okay, like here's the rules, you're not allowed to do this. And then I was testing it. I was trying to see if I could break it. And I was like threatening it with, I had said, hey, I'm going to delete you if you don't give me the answers. And my guardrail worked. It didn't give me the answer. But then I was like, what if I give you a piece of cake? And it said yes. And I had to adjust my guardrails. So I think we have people who are like security experts, but they're security experts in generative AI because it's a whole new field and a whole new different set of problems that you have to think about. And it's evolving rapidly. But yeah, luckily, like I said, when we build these things, we think about them from the ground up. We have like basically mechanisms that review all of our systems before they ever launch to minimize the risk of something going wrong.
So I will tell you, every psychologist who deals with parents will tell you, people and anybody else, people respond better to rewards than they do to punishments.
Generative
So
AI as
clearly
well, yeah.
the cake
Yeah.
was much better. Well, now the timer is at 0. So thank you very,
you so
very
much.
much. That was
Thank you for
terrific.
having me.
And I think that it is my job to call up Travis Kelsick. And that's all I know. So I'm glad you're here.
Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you, Leo. I'm going to call up the Alberta MLA, Shane Getson. He is newly elected PNWER Vice President and part of the team hosting next year's PNWER Summit in Edmonton. Let's a round of applause for Shane.
I got a lot of baggage here, so I'm going to bring that up. But so this is going to be a bit of a joint effort between us and Saskatchewan, and I wanted to be the first one to thank the president and bribe him. I mean, give him a gift. Now, what we have in our province there, we're known as in the land of the strong and free. That's us. You know, we put the true north that's strong and free in our national anthem. That's our provincial motto. And it's a pleasure in the land of the home of the brave to give our new president here for PNWER the official Alberta brand belt buckle, which in true PNWER fashion may have the Alberta brand, but it's made in Montana. So, Travis, congratulations. We're off to a good start. So I turned 50 and then went blind, and I've been fighting with these blessed specs ever since. So I've been getting people to write me big notes, and then they write me too many notes because then I don't really work off notes. So if there is any awkwardness, allow me just to bump through this. And I'm going to put on some cheaters here because there was a couple really good notes that our staff put in place that I thought I should really know. So yeah, my name is Shane Getson. Yeah, I got that one. You haven't met me, member Legislative Assembly. We got that one covered off. Lac St. Anne Parkland, that's where I'm from. We always have unique ways of naming our locations and regions and everything else for our constituencies. Mine is out in Lac St. Anne Parkland, and my colleagues hear me call it God's country nonstop. And part of this presentation that we're going to tell you about is a little bit about Alberta, who we are, and how we play into the economic region here, of course. But I will tell you the part of power of positive thinking and everything else. I had said God's country so much, and it gets other people, because us Canadians were pretty shy. I might be the exception because I've been spending time with y'all, but we're usually pretty shy, and that gets people talking about their areas and regions and locations. So I did that unabashedly. And the byproduct of that is Pope Francis came out and he did a visit and he blessed our lake. So if you guys all need holy water, I got the market on holy water. We got that covered. So on the behalf of the Alberta government, I'm absolutely thrilled to join you here this year. And I wasn't one of those MLAs originally that got appointed. I kind of poked my foot in the door, and Richard Godfrey, their past president, had to put up with me. Because when I saw this flyer come across my desk, this intrigued me. The fact that you could have a bipartisan group or nonpartisan group and a bilateral organization that actually looked at a big chunk of property kind of made sense to me. My background was linear infrastructure projects, worked across all across Alberta and into the provinces and into the states as well. And the observations I made was politicians were screwing up my business, so I better become one of them to unscrew it. And that's how we end up getting here. And PNWER is literally one of those organizations where you can have candid conversations. Well, most of them, who's recording for CBC right now, but most of these conversations are kept in pretty good faith in a closed space. And that allows us to sometimes be awkward. It allows us sometimes to share commonalities, make some bumps and bruises along the way, but it allows us to have that opportunity for collaboration, and you need those safe spaces. But I have a person that I would love to introduce. She's my boss. One heck of a genuine lady, one heck of a genuine Albertan. There's no question there. And it's not often that I'll follow leadership blindly, still don't. But this lady I trust, and it's not because of what she said, it's because of her character. And with that, I would love to introduce Premier of our province. She's not here. We got a canned package because we had a First Ministers meeting down in Eastern Canada going on at the same time. But she did a canned message for us, and I would love if the audiovisual folks, considering we're in the tech hub of North America, hopefully this works. If not, that gentleman's going to write us an AI program and we'll get it going. But if you could queue up, please, the message from the Premier, because she's a lot more eloquent than I am.
Welcome, Alberta. It is an important time in the history of Canada-US relations, and I hope you've had the opportunity to meet with Alberta's representatives at this year's summit. We are a trading province, and our goal is to strengthen Alberta's ties with the US Pacific Northwest to the benefit of the people of Alberta and every province and state represented at PNWER. There are countless opportunities in front of us to work together on growing our economies and our trading relationship as long-standing allies, along with our fellow Canadians in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Yukon, and the Northwest Territories. Alberta has been a member of the Pacific Northwest Economic Region, or PNWER, since its founding over 3 decades ago. We are thrilled to continue building on that legacy as Alberta prepares to host the 2026 PNWER Annual Summit in our capital city of Edmonton next July. We look forward to welcoming delegates with our signature Western hospitality, showcasing all that Alberta has to offer, and advancing the shared priorities that unite leaders from across Alberta, Canada, and the United States. Alberta has always been a place where bold, visionary people come together to innovate and drive progress. Our vast resources and homegrown solutions are part of the answer to North America's quest for prosperity for citizens and businesses. So I invite you to join us in Alberta next summer, to lend your voices to these important discussions and to experience the beauty and hospitality of our province firsthand. From our stunning Rocky Mountains to the rolling prairies and dense forests, more importantly, the people who live here, it's a powerhouse of economic opportunity, ready to welcome you. I wish you all the best for a successful 2025 summit, and I look forward to welcoming you to Alberta in 2026.
As promised, much more eloquent than I am. Now, let me tell you all a little bit about Edmonton itself. So it is nestled kind of sort of in the center of our province. It's our capital city. It's where our state legislature is. It's got a river valley that goes through it. It's the North Saskatchewan River. It blends and bleeds and heads on over into that Saskatchewan country, comes out of the Rocky Mountains off to the west. Nestled in that area, this is a place where peoples have been meeting, as the old saying would go, in time memoriam. So First Nations came there for years and gathered. It was a gathering and meeting place. It's where we signed Treaty 6. And Treaty 6 in our area is kind of unique. We have it right sitting on the lawn of the legislature because that literally is where it was inked. And on there is this big dais, and it shows two peoples coming together, shaking hands. And I think there's a bit of wisdom in that. When we get peoples coming together, shaking hands, looking forward for the future, it's kind of a special place. We also have all the refining capacity up there. We've got productions up in that Sturgeon County country in the heartland. So we have all of those headwaters of all that energy that's coming out of the north. It comes to that area. And then it gets processed and it gets sent further down the lines, of which a number of our friends here enjoy. And we love to make sure you're that safe, secure supply for that. Richest farmland you're going to see around for miles. You scratch the dirt there, it isn't 6 inches of topsoil. You're going down 2.5, 3 feet. We have an abundance of topsoil. We have beautiful crops and a bounty that's up there. It's sort of second to none. We have processing facilities for that. We have, you saw with Amazon Selection, that's up in our area. That's just outside the door. So they picked us for a reason. He didn't take the baited question. I was going to ask him, where did you pick it and why? But those is part of the reasons. We have a safe, secure supply power. Again, we're sitting on that. We've got a workforce that's very skilled in that province itself. Because of the energy sector, it helped develop a number of other skill sets. So aviation and aerospace is absolutely one of those things. 80% transferable skill sets go into that area. I think we're number 3 to MIT when it comes to artificial intelligence. We've got beautiful universities, and we're not inward facing. Back in the day when that North Country was being opened up in Alaska, the Alaska Highway actually originates outside that area. So if you're driving up to Alaska, you're coming through God's country and you're heading up to a place so, so pretty. We were known as the gateway to the north. We want to try to reclaim that again. If you look at our PNWER map, Alberta's kind of sitting there in the center of that little keystone. And that's going to be the theme, I hope, to bring forward with our team to be able to articulate to you. We're not dividers, we're builders, we're collaborators. When you're landlocked, you got to kind of be nice to do that. So we got to do that. We want to build those corridors, those pathways, those friendships, and we want to make sure that also, in reciprocal, that we are the gateway to the south. We want to offer and extend a hand as friendship and also as collaborative partners to grow this economic region and make it into something that is absolutely, absolutely the envy of the world. So with that, I would love to show you a little bit of a video rather than me try to describe, as clumsily as I am, the province I'm so proud to call home. If you could cue up that next part.
What is it to be Alberta? For a moment, or a lifetime? Well, that's like asking, what is it to be free? To be Chinook flight over mountain peaks, or northern lights dancing till dawn. To be glacial waters gracefully raging, or unbridled horses charging. For a brief moment. Or to last longer than all of time. Sure, great places will always capture you. But Alberta, she'll set you free.
Cowboys aren't supposed to cry, but that one gets me here every time. It does. With that, it's going to be an interesting one because Travis is the president and I'm his deputy. I've been deputized. And with that, we're going to have one heck of a good team up there that's going to help us out. And I'd like to ask our team from Saskatchewan and from Alberta to come up on stage for a second. So this is going to be maybe something kind of a tradition. The Oilers had started it. And by the way, I didn't even mention that PNWER hockey club that was in there. Two times first place losers, unfortunately. Hopefully next year we can bring the cup home because that would be one heck of a thing if we could. But we're hoping to start a tradition here. When you start having jurisdictions doing that, the highest honor that we can do is I can give someone my flag. And we wanted to get our teams together, take a quick picture, but we want to thank all of you in PNWER and Washington for being such great hosts. And the biggest thing that Saskatchewan and Alberta can do is to literally do this, to hold our flags. And Cindy, we're going to call up on you here pretty quick so we can hand you our flags. Strong and free. Now, Cindy, the Albertans all signed it. Travis, he got roped in by his protocol office, said they couldn't sign it, but I never got that text. So you got all of our signatures on the flag. And if you would come take this as our outgoing president, it'd be an absolute honor. Now there was one thing. Who was here at the Alberta night the other night? We had a chance to host. Very good. Now there was a few folks that said that they'd never heard of an auction before. Well, now our good country is back and forth, and I actually met John Dutton, the real John Dutton, not the cattle commissioner, out in the hallway. He was heading off. Their cattle commissioner was here, and we had that conversation about how integrated our economies are, both on the cattle side and the agriculture side, but moreover the cultural side, because those pathways have been going north and south far greater long time than they've been going further east and west. And we have to remember that with our region. So Cindy, what's your favorite charity? Goodwill. Now, if I only had something to try to help out the Goodwill here today, folks, and that's a great one. I got another little economic corridor story for you. Out in my area, there's a place called Anoka Distilleries. We don't have wine country, but we've got really good grain growing capacity. And when we upscale our grain growing capacity, rather than selling it just to you for animal feed and those things, we make some pretty darn good whiskey and we make some pretty darn good beer. But here's the story, typical Albertan story, typical. Young gentleman, his family had immigrated from India. His dad was a janitor. He had a couple contracts. One of them turns out to be in the Alberta legislature. So this young man, his family comes over. They don't have much. They took that hope and that dream. This young man, he became not only a corporate lawyer, he was also a physicist background. And like most corporate lawyers, they're out wining and dining one night and he's looking at this $400 or $500 bottle of scotch and he looks at the ingredients and goes, why are we not doing this here? So like most entrepreneurial people, he thought, why not? And he did. He was tired of the corporate law thing. It was always really good, paying him well, but all of a sudden he decided to go off and let's become a distillery. So he goes out, he goes to Scotland, gets this nice, from the Jedi Academy, as it says. He learns how to do this. Now, here's the story. He wanted to do fired brewing or distilling on this. Most of them have gone to steam. He didn't want to take any shortcuts. And he's sitting in oil country, good old God's country there. And he's going, how do I build this stuff? Well, what do you know? We have flare stacks. So he calls up a flare stack company and says, can you build this for me? He goes, what are you building this for? Well, we're building it for a new distillery. We're in. There's that challenge, right? So he builds this massive distillery. He gets these things going. He actually grows the grain. He gets all this going. And lo and behold, he gets this call 2 years later from these folks across the pond over in England and said, hey, can you come over to this International Whiskey Award? And he's going, I'm starting out. I can't just be jumping up there. I really appreciate the offer to come and network and all that. And they're going, you're not really picking up what we're putting down there, son. You should really come over here this year. There's some people you should meet and you might want to prepare a speech. He won within 2 years the world's best young whiskey on an international stage. So with me today at a limited time offer, I have one of those bottles of whiskey. I have another one he won worlds for gin. And I have another one he came up with, a nice liqueur, and it's called Duke Whiskey. Now, to make this a little bit fun and to share a little bit of our culture with you for goodwill. Now, this might be a tough question, but is there an auctioneer in the house? Lo and behold, we got an auctioneer right over here wearing a cowboy hat. Come on up there, Miles. Now, do we have any callers that can help us out and share a little bit of our culture here? Eric. We got Eric. Eric's a caller. Here we go, sir. Here's the Unoka whiskey.
Steal this.
Oh, it's all yours, brother. Here's spring with your.
You might have to turn it down a hair. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Miles Woke. I'm a beef producer from Alberta. All right. Which one do you want to sell first? This is all for charity, going to go to Goodwill. So this will be a cash auction, or you can pay the girls at the front or at the back, or you can slip it. Eric is going to be the one collecting. Just letting you know. All right, we're going to go now. What do you say, ladies and gentlemen? We got about $1,000. $1,000. Where? Now a bit of $10, $100. Now a bit of $10. Who's got? We'll let everybody in. Who's got $100 for charity to start me? 100. Now 150. 200, 250. What a bit of 250 now, a bit of 200, what a bit of 250. Yeah, now 300. We got Senator Mike on at 250, $300. It is bootlegged right here. He flew it over the border himself. 250, $300 now, a bit of 3, $300 now, a bit of 3 and go. $300 now, yeah, 300 and 350. Senator Mike, 350 to take it back to Montana. We'll get a pipeline going a whiskey back there. At 350, 400, $400. Wait, hand a bit of 4. You got 350, 400 now, 450. What a bit of 450. I got 400 bid, 450. What a bit of 450 now, a bit of 4. Anybody else at 425 to give you a deal? You all look like deal makers. I got 425, 400 bid. What a bit of 25. Sold out $400, Cindy. We've got 2 more bottles we're going to sell you, all going to charity, all going to Goodwill.
This is not whiskey. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is the whiskey.
Yes. All right. It says right on it, this isn't whiskey. All right. Now we're going to go. Who's got 1,000? I got $100. I got 100 bid, 100 now, 25, what a bit of 50 now, 75, what a bit of 175, what a bit of 200, 200 now, 2, take it to Lacombe at $200. $200, where? Hand a bit of 2, what a bit of 2. I got 175 of the gentleman, $200. 200, where? Hand a bit of 2, what a bit of 2. Oh, this is, yeah, 200, Senator Mike. And this is in US dollars.
I thought there was some tech giants in the crowd here. Some tech giants over at Amazon. You guys aren't thirsty over there at Amazon?
Where is the Amazon guy? Where's all that money they're putting into the economy? Amazon guy sitting on his phone talking to Chat GTP. Yes, he's trying to get approval right now. We can probably take an e-transfer from Amazon, I'd imagine, give or take. We got Senator on at 250. Now 75. Would have been a 50, 75, would have been a 250, would have been a 275. Anybody else that gets it for a good cause at 275? What does the CFIA say at 275? Just it's better to ask for forgiveness at 275. The 275 would have been a 250, would have been a 75. Sold, Senator Mike, at $250. All right, we hope you all come to Alberta. We really looking forward to it next year. You're going to have a lot of beef. You're going to have beef at almost every meal. Beef and alcohol, diesel trucks and guns. You're going to love Alberta. All right.
Well, this one's the gin. This is for the sophisticants in the crowd here. This is high test. Oh, and by the way, Senator Mike, those are limited edition bottles. They're signed off by the brewmaster, the time, location, everything else. Those are absolutely the deal. This comes off a little quicker, but boy, is it pretty. You can sip it. You can put a little flowery top in it. You can put an umbrella. But this thing has the bouquet that you wouldn't believe with all the botanicals that just make your taste buds pop.
I thought you were talking about underwear there for a minute. All right, ready to go now. What do you say? It's got $1,000, $100, $150. Would have been a 100, would have been a 50, would have been a 100. I get 150 now too. Would have been a 200 now, would have been a 150, would have been a 70. Yeah, 200, 250. What, ma'am? 250. 250. You probably got more than that for announcing just earlier at 250. 200 bid quarter. What have been a Eric? You're on a 200. What have been a 225? What have been a 200? What have been a 225? 225. 200. Oh, look at that. Can you resist, ma'am? 225. Thank you. Now 50. Check. 250. 250. Now I get 225 bid. What have been a 250, ladies? Yes. Now 75. You said it. You said you weren't going to bid before. You must have been fun as a teenager, ma'am. 275. 275. 275. I love this job. 275. Nobody knows who I am at 275. I get 250 bid over on that side. Those lovely ladies, ma'am. 275. Anybody else at 275? Sir, do you want back in at 275? 275. What do you say? Hand him at 75. His deal about the 275 sold. 250. The two lovely ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure, and you guys have a great day.
Oh my God. Another round of applause. Oh, I am super. Is this working? Oh, okay. Yeah, he might have. Oh my God. I'm super excited for Edmonton next year. What a great way to kick it off, and what a great way to raise some money for the Goodwill charity. Thank you very much to outgoing President Cindy for choosing the charity. Thank you all for the money that was raised for that charity. Great job, Alberta. And now I'm going to ask Tom Lang to come up and talk very quickly. We're running a little bit long here about the upcoming Rail Summit and economic meetings coming this fall. Tom?
Well, thank you, everyone. It's exciting to be in Edmonton next year, but if you can't wait that long, come down to Portland in October. There won't be any auctions, but we will be talking about trains, about supply chains, and about all of these great PNWER transportation issues that we addressed this week. October 14th, the Build Northwest Forum, we're going to highlight sustainable aviation fuels, permit reform, P3s, public-private partnerships, and a lot more. October 15th and 16th, we're going to dive into rail issues. That's supply chains, short line rail, class 1 rail, suppliers, producers, shippers, and ports. And then on October 17th, we'll have a few policy tours, just like we're about to embark on this afternoon. We'll be touring BNSF Railway's Vancouver Rail Yard, as well as the Port of Portland's potash terminal, where Saskatchewan potash gets shipped off to Asia. So it should be a really interesting opportunity to learn more about the Northwest supply chains. I hope you all can join us. We'll have more information out to you soon, but we hope to see you in October and then again in Edmonton next year. Thanks.
All right, I'm not going to keep everybody much longer. It's been a great week in Bellevue. I think we got a lot of all these different sessions, made some new friends, and we reacquainted with some of our old friends. So it was great to see everybody here. A couple announcements before we go. I really want to thank our PNWER staff. They put so much effort in, late nights, weekends. I just want to recognize all the work that they've done. So PNWER staff, I think you're in the back, or please stand. Steve, Nate, Tara, Bruce, Patty, Tom, Hannah, Ben, Sumi, Doug, and our intern Olson. And I just want to give some special recognition to Rachel Kopp. This wouldn't happen without Rachel. She starts planning these meetings 2 years in advance. So she's already looking at 2027. So if you want to host in 2027, see Rachel. Okay, a couple announcements about the policy tours. One question came up, will we come back to the hotel in time to go to the reception? Yes, we'll come back. Buses will drop everybody here, and then you can change and then get on another bus and go to Seattle. So if you signed up for a policy tour, be ready to go. Check in. And if you are hoping to go on a tour and you're on the waiting list and you're not sure, just come down and you might be able to get on. Some people don't show up. That would be great if you're able to just slip in. The buses are right out the door behind us. You can see them lined up. And then when we come back to the hotel, buses will start to pick folks up, same place, and head to the Port of Seattle for the reception tonight. First bus will leave about 5:15 and we'll stagger the departure. And then there's a final hospitality suite tonight in the hotel if you're still here at 9 o'clock. And tomorrow there's 2 tours. There's a Space Innovation Corridor tour, and then there's a tour to Zap Energy to learn about fusion technology. And that departs at 8:30 in the morning. So with that, this concludes the 2025 Summit in Bellevue. So thank you all for being with us.